Another savage descends upon the colony. As he is getting shot, he shrieks in pleasure. Even as he is riddled with holes and unable to move, the savage is having the time of his life. Even Tony, who usually enjoys violence, is disturbed by this display. He was carrying some ambrosia and 5 packaged survival meals. Webster wears the savage's bowler hat. The raider is left to eventually die from his wounds, nobody daring to come finish the madman off. The rice crop is ready to harvest, and Tony is steadily getting better at cooking. Webster is struggling to remake the beds and has to finish the job the next day. The beds are now of acceptable quality. Tony gets sick from his own cooking, and will take longer to craft much-needed clothes. The colony has been attacked several times now. Fortunately, they all consisted of a single poorly armed savage. Attacks in the future may involve raiders with actual guns or better. Thus, Webster is tasked with erecting several defensive structures around the base. The first structure is being built on the western flank of the colony. Part of it will use the naturally occurring stone in the area. Some of the rock has to be mined, and it takes a while due to low mining skill. Her day only gets worse. She is still messing up fairly often while building. Nurhesi expands the rice fields as Tony throws up from food poisoning. Hopefully by the time winter comes, food will be plentiful, and meals properly cooked. Webster and Tony eat breakfast. The surgeon nibbles on his food, fearing another bout of food poisoning. Webster builds a stool and botches it. The second attempt is of poor construction, but it will have to do. Tony decides to relax. After a short break, he heads off to craft clothes out of the animal hides they've acquired. He vomits during his work, Nurhesi urging the stubborn old man to take a few days off. After his bowel is emptied, Tony shuffles over to storage to grab a meal. The body needs energy to fight off this sickness, and the sooner he can get over this condition, the better. To the northeast, Webster finishes up another defensive building. She has to make a trip to storage for more material due to her mistakes. Wood was running low, however, and she helps Nurhesi gather more. As they were working, a timber wolf brazenly shows itself as if to challenge them. In response, the pair decide to hunt the beast down. This animal does not fear humans, and may attack them in the future. Meanwhile, Tony finishes a cowboy hat. It's a decent piece of work, and the panthera leather used to craft it is excellent for keeping cool. Tony also got over his food poisoning. The other two are still hunting the wolf. Webster takes some shots and manages to land one center mass. She offers to let Nurhesi finish the hunt. She prefers automatic guns, and a bolt-action rifle is not her preference. Nurhesi accepts and starts shooting. Webster questions his background as an ace fighter pilot. Her world's military gives fighter pilots basic marksmanship training at least. Maybe his world's military doesn't? The man could be a specialist trained only in the operation of fighter spacecraft, him being an ace and all. She keeps these thoughts to herself, however, and simply watches the disaster. Eventually, she calls out to Nurhesi that it's getting late. He's just having a bad shooting day, and should try again tomorrow. The pair walk back home. He wanted to end the beast's suffering as soon as possible, but it will have to wait. Out of Nurhesi's 35 shots, only one landed. In the middle of the night, an escape pod crashes, startling the nearby rhinos. The man is gravely injured and bleeding heavily. The pod crash didn't wake any of the sleeping colonists, however, and he is left on his own. Thankfully, Nerhesi is an early riser. After some food, he goes off to chop some wood, the sound of which alerts the crash-landed survivor. Though he knows potential help is in the area, he cannot bring himself to call for it, even when his life is at stake. His absolute lack of social skills and sheltered childhood forged him into a quiet and introverted man. In a few hours, he passes away from blood loss. With Tony's blessing, Nerhesi wears the recently finished cowboy hat. It will serve him well in the current season. The Timberwolf from yesterday succumbed to its wounds, and is butchered with enthusiasm. The group's open-door policy allows even wild animals into the base. During her break, Webster spots a particularly chunky rat gobbling up mouthfuls of their hard-earned rice. The greedy creature is barely able to react, and is killed on the spot. Tony is informed of the situation, but all he really cares about is the fact that there is a carcass to mess with. Another defensive structure is being built, this one covering the southwest approach. Though Webster can build noticeably faster now, she is still botching her constructions. Even so, she now has enough experience to build a freezer. A generator, cooler, and small storage room is built for the purpose of freezing food. To accommodate more people, another bedroom is added. New wood flooring and an expansion of the main building are planned. As long as the floors are kept clean, meals will be much safer to eat, and the additional space will allow for separate rooms to cook and butcher in. Nerhesi goes hunting in the wee hours of the morning. He focuses on small game, rats and hares. His abysmal shooting performance against the Timberwolf discouraged him, and he wants to make sure he hasn't lost his touch. Improvements to the base took more wood than anticipated, so Tony and Webster had to gather more. Tony cooks well into the night. Some of their meat is about to spoil, and food should not be wasted. The first rice crops have grown well and are being harvested. The rice from the pond soil should be even more bountiful and yield another harvest before winter comes. Tony finished cooking the meals, but has lost too much sleep as a result. His rest is well deserved, and he additionally wakes up to a good amount of small animal corpses to butcher. Webster is as inconsistent as ever, botching the wood flooring back to back. After a refreshing nighttime stroll, Tony comes home to a sleeping raccoon, curled up in the middle of their home. He was tired and just wanted to go to sleep. This problem can be dealt with tomorrow after a good night's rest. Webster spots the raccoon as she is having breakfast. Once she is finished, she whips out her revolver and starts firing away at tomorrow's breakfast. Instead of running away, it charges toward the pile of berries and gorges itself. It died true to its name. The open-door policy is abolished shortly after. Separate rooms for butchering and cooking are underway, along with lighting installation throughout the compound. Nerhesi hunts the local guinea pigs for their warm furs. There are many of them now, due to the recent lack of predators. Farming has gone well, and local wildlife is still plentiful. Food should not be a problem at this rate. The base itself has been expanded. A freezer and electric lighting were installed. The colony is settling in smoothly, with no major problems so far. Nerhesi watches the drifting clouds go by, anticipating the day he can use a space fighter again.